Good. Just before we go live, I suppose. Oh no. Oh, I forgot to set my camera up. Okay. 1 minute. Or I guess 5 more minutes, maybe. Huh. I have far too much to track with 2 streaming services. So we'll see how that goes. I need to also see this. Well, I will just do this. We'll move this. I think Discord, I should not have an issue with finding space on my screen, that's for sure. that. This down. This up again. As we're live, I might as well actually go and do the thing. Why not? Okay, so I can see that. Probably move this into a dock here somewhere. There we go. Can't shrink that down any further though. Shrink that and that's fine. Interesting. Is Twitch that far behind too? Couldn't imagine. No. Is YouTube really that far behind? Also, couldn't imagine. No. So what is this view? Oh. That is somehow not showing live. Fascinating. Okay. Alright. I think I have this actually figured out then. And yeah, streaming on both Twitch and YouTube. Finally. Alright, I got that figured out. There we go. Alright. Now... pull up notes and look at what we're doing tonight. I have two things that I really want to do specifically. And also, yeah, that's fine. Welcome, welcome. So I can stick this over here. Expand that a little bit. Stick this here. I can make my chats bigger for myself. Ideally, should make them easier to read. Right? Like that makes sense, right? That's a decent layout. You can see both chats. This is all Twitch stats. I have my YouTube stats on another page. Because in order for me to have fit the YouTube stats on the same corner of the screen here, I had to shrink it down far enough that this became small, and I was like, oh, I don't like that. So... I also don't know how to get rid of this or why there's such a giant space in here. Maybe if I click learn more. No. Okay, here's what it is. That's not important, that's not what we're here for. We're here for this, right? We're here to work on our animal behavior. this deer in particular at the moment, who is going to search for water when he's thirsty. In order to make that happen, or to finish making that happen, again, we're ignoring this because it doesn't exist in an actual world. This is just a little test world. We are gonna head over into here, and I'm going to do... No. Head down here. I'm gonna look at where I left off on the issue that I had. Alright, so I left some notes for myself. Okay, I figured out how to get the resource values into the actions that need them by using a needs resource key in each module. Well, each module that needs it anyways. Utilizing a conditional check for that key. That is actually up here in the class. Yeah, right here. If needs resource exists, which would be true as well, then we are calling that action class 3 times, once for each specific resource. It's a little hacky, to be sure, but it also meant I only had to write, I only had to write move to search point action, determine search point action, and scan location for resource action. I only had to write those actions once, as opposed to having to write them 3 times, once for each resource. So that works out for me. Instead here, we are... I'm gonna work my way backwards, so because that's how I should have done it in the first place. It's how I have been setting this up. It's how you typically set up a GOP system. It's how the planner actually works in a GOP system. I have also fixed this a little bit, because before I was calling the action, the .new constructor function here. These should still be... I see. Alright, I'm gonna fix this super quick here. We're gonna go to the action type. I have resource type here, and I just need to... No. Is that what it was? It needs a resource, right? That's what it was complaining about? Yeah. I'll put that here then. Needs resource is a boolean or nil value. Now in here, this should be fine, but it's not. Oh, because this doesn't actually know. Well, it should though. It's basically considering that this table is a table of this type. So with that in mind, let me go ahead and do this. Let's say action type, so we can get the action type required. And then here, this is, so we could cast it at the end here as a table of action type dot action. That fixes that. Because I don't like seeing red. No one should. Alright, we're gonna go ahead and git commit, do all. It's been a while since I've done it like this for whatever reason. This is going to be, no, git, that's what it is. Add all. extensions. What am I looking for here? G, yeah. Okay, yeah, that's staged them. Okay, man, it has been a while since I've done this for whatever reason. That is not what I wanted to do. You know what though? I will have this write my message for me though. Add action type requirements. Update action type to include needs resource property. That's fine. Cool. Right. Let's do that and down here just to maintain some memory of how to do things, even though git push is like the easiest, one of the easiest ones. Alright, so working backwards then. So we can close that and close that. The satisfy thirst goal is what we're basically working on. Its desired state is to get is hydrated true. We get that from the drink water, right? Drink water action. Where this is going to set is hydrated true as its effect. It will consume the at water source. So that is what we need to have as our precondition. And our move to resource, or what was it? Move to search point. Move to source. What do we have here? Let's see. We have our determine search point. So moving back, basically we need the move to... Oh, hello everyone. Thanks, Dirt Monster. What's good? Man, that's nice. I like just got on here too, so that's quite the influx. Alright, so I'm looking to work backwards in my GOP system because I'm rewriting this satisfy thirst goal and its actions. So we know that we're drinking water. We need to look for at water source. At water source is going to come from typically a move to water source action. And that might be different. Right? No, it's not a survival game. It's actually a hunting game. I'm designing the animal AI in, so this is actually a pretty like reactive, intelligent animal ecosystem essentially that's being created. So this is a commission I'm working on for a game called Wild North, I believe it is. I believe so. Yeah, exactly. Hunter Call of the Wild inspired, very much so. In fact, I was playing that game the other day just to like... It's so difficult. They need to have a mode in that game, like a drone mode or something, where you can actually just observe the animals, because it's almost impossible to just sit there and observe like their various behaviors if you're trying to study them and like how did they set theirs up and how intelligent are their animals specifically. But it did give me some useful information. Yeah, in Roblox there's free camo. I was talking about a Hunter Call of the Wild. Yeah, I don't know if he's gonna do, or there's two owners on this game. I don't know if they're gonna do a free cam on the game. I think that would be a really cool feature, because again, like it can be kind of cool, especially if you have a fully, you know, intelligent animal ecosystem designed and you want to just actually go and watch animals out in the wild, right? That should be the right way there. So yeah, it's also it's on Game Pass as well, so if you have Game Pass, it's included. All right, so our effect here is at water source is true, and that is what we need. So is there anything specific to move to water source that we have, or should we convert it to a moved resource and actually do a more generic move to, because from this point we have our target and we're just moving to the target, and then we're just getting the status and making sure it's not failed. Of course, if it fails, the planner just creates a new plan and says, okay, I gotta try again. So that should be fine. Well, it is AI still, right? It's, in fact, the GOAP system, GOAP, Goal-Oriented Action Planning System, if you're not familiar with it, is the most intelligent AI system to develop. Excuse me. Meaning that the AI actually have like some intelligent agency, and you don't script them to do things in the world. You just say, you have these different goals available to you at any given time, depending on the world state. You know, if you're thirsty, for example, is what we're working on right now, then you want to satisfy your thirst. That goal becomes the most desirable goal that you have. So the planner says, okay, let me look to see what that goal needs. And it goes in here and says, what is the desired state, the desired world state? It says, oh, we need to have is hydrated be true. Okay, so then it looks through all of the available actions available to the animal, which I have them actually separated by context, so it's not always having to look through. You know, if I end up giving them like 50 actions, it's not always going to look through 50 actions or anything like that. So yeah, it's smart. Like it then goes, okay, well, how do I satisfy is hydrated? And it says, oh, well, the drink water action, its effect here is basically the promise that it's going to make. So this is going to say, yeah, this is going to satisfy is hydrated equals true. So this is the first action or the last action essentially in the list to satisfy that. And then it goes through and says, okay, well, this has a precondition to be at a water source. So what do we need to do to be at a water source? Move to water source action, and its effect up here sets that to true, right? Oh, this also has a precondition that water source was found. So then you go through and you find, well, you know, it basically then lists all these actions out and then performs them backwards, and will continue to do that. So it's pretty cool. Hey, I'm also streaming on YouTube for the first time, so I finally set up the multi-stream setup. I don't know if I'm gonna get anybody on there, but I've got, it says 2 viewers, so they're quiet though, nobody's chatting. All right, so yeah, because this actually appears quite generic on its own, I think I can completely convert this to work for all 3 resources. Currently I have 3 resources. I have thirst, hunger, and technically shelter, which restores energy. Basically where they go and sleep or rest, right? Yeah, I had originally set up a finite state machine when I was hired to do this. That was like the thought process I had. I was like, I can just do something pretty simple. As I was doing it, and they have a noise system and a weather system that the animals have to react to as well. Like the player noise, you know, can cause an alert state on the animal and stuff. And it became this whole thing where it was like starting to weave together so much, as finite state machines do when you start to add more functionality to them, that I thought, okay, I'm gonna have to stop before I get too deep into it and rethink a different system. And I was looking between behavior trees and GOAP, and behavior trees would be okay, but Roblox doesn't directly support behavior trees, and they work best if you have a visual aid. There's like plugins and stuff you can do to get it. But even then, I started thinking about it. I was like, you know, we're not gonna have 1,000 animals on the map, and that's like one of the main drawbacks of a GOAP system, is that it's a little processing hungry, because the planner, you know, has to think about plans all the time. So as long as you are not having a lot of NPCs that use the GOP system, and you can obviously call things out, so if they're a certain distance from the player or something, you can just, you know, either slow down the planning or anything like that, or turn it off entirely so the animal just kind of stands there and doesn't do anything until player comes within range, not necessarily where they can see them, but player just comes within range, and then the AI turns on and goes, okay, I'm going to start thinking every 10 seconds, right? And then when the player gets close enough to be able to see them, then it's thinking, you know, every second or even every frame about what it's going to do to be more reactive to the world, and that just saves a lot of processing power. I have been coding for 20 years. Older than I look. But Roblox, specifically, I've only been doing for about less than 2.5 years. But I've been in game development and software development throughout those 20 years. So yeah, I just turned 42 this month. Thanks. Any big projects on Roblox? No, not well. Currently working on a big project. Thank you. It was on the 13th. So what was that? Week and a half ago or something? It was on Friday the 13th. 2 weeks ago almost. Jeez, time. All right, never ending. I actually don't remember all the books I've read now, because it's been a while since I've actually read a programming book now. I think just as time has moved on, there's a lot of good creators on YouTube that you can just almost, you know, as a podcast, basically almost just sit back and listen to these like influential figures in programming sit there and have conversations with each other about, you know, the different things that they wrote their books on or whatever, you know, and it's almost just more engaging to me to take that in. Saves brain power. I can save it for reading, you know, fictional novels instead if I want to. Nice. That is more common than you would think. You know, people put their all into a game and it takes longer than they thought. Funds dry up. And it's like everything is riding on the launch of this game. Howdy. Yeah, it's funny you say howdy. I'm in Texas. Not from Texas, but I am in Texas. Alright, so let's see. Oh, I just realized I don't have my YouTube chat up on the screen. I only have the Twitch chat. See, I set it up here. Made it work here. Didn't actually do anything with the other stuff. That is what it is. You live in Texas. I figured. Howdy is very much a Texas greeting for sure. Alright, so this move to water source action, we're just gonna go ahead and rename this. I just call it move to resource. And I will just copy that and we'll rename the whole thing. This is now one of the new ones that last night, basically, one of the last things I did. I had not slept like at all yesterday, so if you were on my stream yesterday, you saw me just like losing my mind trying to figure out where I even was. Of course, it had been a few days since I even touched the project, so that didn't help. And it took me a while, and it hit me like I think at midnight or something. I was like, oh man, I woke up at 5 that morning and was like starting to really get tired. So the last thing I did though is I finally figured out one of the main things I was having an issue with was how to get basically all of my actions normally have they take no arguments for the constructor function. But I needed to somehow pass in, if I'm making a generic action like this, I needed to somehow pass in the resource, the specific resource, you know, water, food, or shelter, to the constructor function, and basically be able to use it as a self value in here somewhere. So I came up with not local, move to resource action in this case, and it was needs resource, and we just set that as a Boolean value, so this is now true. Now we can actually come in here and say resource, which is a resource type. I can get that from one of my other ones here. Just drop that in there, and this is a resource type. All right. Programming languages do I know? So I started on C because I'm old like that. Also, I mean, it's just, that's, I believe they still teach that like in college as initial computer science language in some cases. I would imagine a lot of it's Python and JavaScript and some other less high level languages, C++. But yeah, so I started with C. I did C++ for years, partially because I was into Unreal Engine development as well. That was kind of like my go-to game engine for many years. I worked, I had used Lua a little bit when I worked for Blizzard, World of Warcraft back in 2008, as well as some other things. And then we had a long stretch of using Python, and that was because I was teaching, and I was teaching high school, and that's like it was a course that basically you can have, yeah, if you want to understand everything, C is a great language for that, because it really forces you to know how it works, right? And that's a big thing, I think, when, like, even when I'm teaching things, it's like, I could teach you how to do a thing. It's very much the whole, you can teach a man how to, or give a man a fish and he'll eat for a day. Teach a man to fish, or how to fish, and he'll eat for a lifetime, right? It's the same sort of thing. Like, you know, I could put a YouTube video out and say, here's how to make a an AI system, right? Or I could say, here's how a GOP system works in general, and give you some examples, and then you can now apply that how you want to in your game. Much easier than me creating a very specific example of something, you following along with that tutorial, and then when you go, okay, cool, now I want to add this, and you go, well, it doesn't really work because it's not specific to my game, or, you know, all that kind of stuff. So having that base understanding of how things work, much more important than just how to do something, for sure. So, all right, guys, let's figure out what else I need to set up on this, because I think for the most part, right, I gotta do all this trash. The required state key. I do have to set the self resource type. It's gonna be resource, and then in our preconditions, let's see, I need to do blank source found. So I don't know that I want to do that, though. This was kind of giving me, I think this was actually one of the things that was giving me trouble before going to rework everything, refactor a little bit. So if I look at the scan for resource action, that's the action just before this one, essentially. And its whole thing is to, once you've moved to like a search point, then you will, yeah, at search point needs to be false. No, this needs to be true. Right, we're scanning. So at the search point, you will be starting to scan, and we need to make sure that we are, that we haven't currently found something. Because if we have found something, the planner would basically say, oh, this one fails, and it would replan, and it would see that that's already taken care of. And that's when it would go to the move to resource action in that case. So we're going to clear this. We need to make this a 2 lower, because by default, of course, resource type is capital first letter there. So we'll do string. I always want to say 2 lower. String dot lower. Yeah, no problem, man. Thanks for dropping in. Come back another time. Derp, if you're in here, by the way, you're watched your tier list of the engine library stuff, and that was interesting. I like how you just completely caved to your audience for whatever reason. So this would be source found. All right. So now instead of this, we do acquired state key. This is actually going to be a true state key. I don't know why I'm doing that. All right, fingers, you can do it. All right, and then at water source false, so this is going to be a required false state key. So this will be very similar, but this is going to be at resource. No, I could do resource, but self.resource type source, which sounds silly, but this will essentially be replaced with like at water source in this very specific instance that we're talking about here. And then this becomes our false state key. All right, so that takes care of the precondition change. I need to update my comments as well. So after our effect will be at that, assume the target state. So pretty much similar here. So we'll go ahead and take this one, and this is just going to be called effect true key, and then our this would be the effect false. We'll just call it effect consume, actually. Be more specific about what it's doing there, because it's consuming that state. So this is that one specifically. Very good. This is effect consume key, so then we need our, this is actually just going to be an effect key, and this is going to be at that's the wrong one. Self.resource type source, right? Yeah. Seems simple enough. I don't know that I have touched my mouse more than I have during this past couple of days for some reason. How long did I say I've been coding again? 20 years. A little more than 20 years technically. If you want to talk about like when I started like looking into it. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks. That doesn't make me feel old at all. I appreciate that. We'll check something super quick, guys. One sec. Let me grab this. I paste this into here. It's all weird looking. I don't even know, like, I still have to figure out where to put the chats so they can be read. Although, to be fair, like, I don't normally have that open, so that kind of helps. I guess I could shrink the chats down and put them next to each other. Is that fine? That's fine, right? That's fine. Of course, that doesn't help when I come over here, though. Also, in this one, I obviously need the Explorer. I could shrink these down too, I suppose. That's always a thing to do. Although, still prefer to have them open because then, you know, you guys can see like what I'm looking at. I don't know, man. That's a streamer thing, I guess, to just like care about where things are. There. Alright, for now, that's probably good enough. I don't even know if I had it down here. Yeah, I don't. It's turned off. That's fine. Anyways, yeah, it's just a little test world. You like it? My giant river and some grass. Been interested for a decade or more. I've only really been into since like 2022. C++, by far your favorite. It was my favorite until I started using Go. I think Go might be my favorite language now. I don't know. Although, I mean, as far as like a system language goes, if we're talking that low level of a language, you know, along the lines of C++. We're talking high level languages. I am a Luau fan, like through and through. I will write everything with this language if I want to now. Yeah, I gave Rust a chance, and it's, I don't know if it was just like I had no projects in mind and no motivation. It was more of just like I just wanted to learn it because I could. I had some time. I was like, yeah, let's go ahead and try that. And like I just couldn't get into it. And then I was like, well, let's try Go instead. And at that time I was like, I'll create a budget app. My wife and I had been paying for a budgeting app like for years. Even though I'm also an Excel wizard. And I was like, I'll just cancel that subscription. I'll import everything into Excel for the time being, which then I spent way too much time on that. And then I just designed a budgeting app with Go and SQLite, and I was like, yeah, that works. So that was fun. And then my software development business, making software for small businesses, basically to replace their expensive subscription applications that they're paying for, web apps basically, that they're either getting more features than they need or are missing some features, or just, you know, they don't own the software and things could change. Yeah, that was the whole plan. So that was a nice time. And then I got into doing this, and I've always been drawn back to game development. It's my baby, that's for sure. Alright, On start, we need to apparently also set a target key as also string, let's make sure it's in curly braces, string dot lower self dot resource type, and source target. All right. It's like, what's going on there? Oh, okay. All right, and then we can replace this with that. Index target key. There's like so many indexes. An index of an index here. Index of an index. But it's, like I said, it's kind of hacky, but it's a nice way to not have to rewrite everything all the time. All right, so basically we're checking if there's a target. If there's no target, then we are returning out of on start, which will fail the plan. So the planner will then go, oh, I need a new plan. And it will look at everything and go, yeah, need to do that. We're getting the humanoid to increase their speed to a running speed. I need to adjust this as well. It's actually one of the things on my to-do list here as well, is to implement a walk, trot, run state, and I got that from playing the Hunter Call of the Wild, as a matter of fact. I was like, yeah, that's a good idea. That is a good idea. Alright, so increasing to run, and then we are just moving to the target position. Now I just want to verify that we are setting that to correct thing. On scan complete is getting a base part or C-frame. Perfect. All right. That works. And then pathfinding. Go to. Simple enough. The perform is just checking the status of the pathfinding. That is still all correct. Wow. Glad I came in here and looked at that. I hate misspelling things. Although every now and then I'm like, maybe I should just leave all my typos and stuff, because people look at my code and they go, "Did you use AI to write that?" Like, no, I just write proper code. Good, clean, proper code. Just happens to be that AI tries to do that, except it doesn't write correct code more often than not. So, in other words, yeah, I have comments in my code. Oh no. I try to explain my code. Not to mention, typically when I'm doing this stuff, there's two things that I always think about. Number one, I'm making this for somebody else. That is YouTube. I'm actually doing a multi-stream for the first time in forever. Cue the Frozen music here. But the first thing is that I'm making a system for somebody else, and typically that somebody else is somebody that has some base level of scripting knowledge, because that's usually how people meet me, is they have worked with me or have learned from me in one of my classes or something, and they want to go through and see my code and kind of learn from it as well. So making sure that I leave good clear comments and good clean code helps that along, right? And then yeah, Luau especially, right? And it makes sense. There's not enough open source Luau projects, and especially, like, that's the other thing. If you look down the bottom right, you can't because I'm in the way. Hold on. If you look down here, right, I'm on Luau, right? If I pull this open here, you can see that I am using .luau, right? Many developers in Roblox think for some reason that they're still coding in Lua, and they're not. So, is it really good with Python? It can be. I'll say this, like, don't... Vibe coding, especially, right? That's where people that don't really know enough about coding will code an application and it works. First of all, working code does not mean it's good code. But it's also something where it's tying into libraries and things that when those libraries update, it's probably going to break that code and they're not going to know how to fix it. Even if they could possibly start to go, hey, can you look at this and try to fix this for me? You typically have to know how to ask the right question, and a lot of that comes from knowing how to code. Like, you have to have an understanding of how it works. And that's where the real power comes in. If I were to go in to an LLM, if I were to use Cursor, for example, and I were to write a Python application of some sort, right, or a whole web app using Python and an LLM, I could guide that LLM and it would probably be much faster than anything I could do. And it would be better than someone who didn't really know what they were doing, who tried to make that same exact application, because I at least know exactly what to ask, and when something looks wrong, I can point it out, because that's another thing, is AI is always going to... AI is mimicking human beings in the fact that it's going to have an idea and it's going to be very confident about that idea. And then all of a sudden, if you don't know, right, that that's wrong, you're going to feel like it's confident enough that it's right. But if you know that it's wrong, you can go, hey, take a breath, think harder about that. That's apparently a thing. If you tell a person, like, hey, just take a breath, take a step back, think about it, try it again, you get a better answer. And it's actually the same thing. You can tell an LLM to do that, and you will get a better answer the next time around, which is kind of funny. Which is really annoying, though, because that means the answer is there. It has that answer, but it's not using it, so... little column A, little column B, Cloverist. I am using pathfinding module, so yes, I'm using pathfinding service. My watch is dying. Interesting. But I wrote my own custom pathfinding module, though. As one should, because Roblox's pathfinding is not quite good enough on its own. Getting better every now and then. I do want to talk about for a second, so you said if it pays the bills you don't mind. Talk about Roblox game development when it comes to that too. All the brain rot games, right? Those make money. They get an influx of people, kids on their iPads, dropping their parents' money, and then they're gone, right? Then they move on to the next brain rot game. You can make money doing that. You can write quick, easy, terrible projects doing that, and it's fine. Or you can learn the craft, do commissions for people's projects that are more inspired, still make money, pay the bills, and then maybe you come across somebody who's like, hey, let's make a really good game, and you can spend time. A big thing I think that we just started doing on Project 100 is a project that I'm a big part of. It's like a Sword Art Online inspired MMO. And one thing that I was pushing one of the owners of that to do was to open a Patreon to just basically take donations, essentially like a Kickstarter sort of situation, right? And say, hey, because we've got like a decent number of people in the server on Discord and people that want to support the game, and it's like, if you've got $5, if you got $10, whatever, just toss it our way. That helps pay for the game, right? It helps pay for the development of the game, helps pay for me to do things, which is something I'll be doing after we get finished with this. As a matter of fact, I'm going to look over, and I have to do an estimate, essentially, of how much it's going to cost him to pay me to fix something that a guy that he hired earlier in the year, at the beginning of the year, I think it was, he messed a bunch of stuff up, and it came both with good and bad things, but It is what it is. Noticing something. Our on exit is not actually setting our effect value, so that's not good. Alright, so we are stopping the animal. We are resetting their speed to walk. Again, I do need to adjust that. And then we're going to go ahead. All the time I've ever worked on someone else's code that I didn't like. Yeah, it's, I'm quite OCD, and like you will see me almost religiously. I mean, for the most part, because I'm using VS Code and I'm using Luau language server, and you can set this up to, for example, if I control S on this, like, it will automatically alphabetize my requires, right? It automatically alphabetizes my services and stuff as well. And all that's just, it's partly from like the Roblox Lua style guide, and it's just great. But fact is you will look at my code and you will look at someone else's code that doesn't follow, like, not necessarily clean code principles, because clean code isn't always achievable per se, but good code, that follows a consistent style guide. And, I'm using meaningful names and all that, which is why, yeah, some of these names look like they're kind of long, right? But meaningful names make a big difference. And how many times have you seen me actually have to type this out, right? I might have to type this once, and then from then on, if I ever want to type move to resource action, oh, look, I just typed an M and there it is. So I mean, that's the biggest argument I get back from a lot of students sometimes, where I'm like, stop using like RS for replicated storage. And like, yeah, but it's, it's so much easier to type. I'm like, check this out. I show them that same sort of thing. It's like, I can type 2 letters, RE, and it goes, oh, there's replicated storage. Like, you aren't saving yourself any time, you're just making your code harder to read. And for myself, sometimes, that's the second point that I was going to talk about and I forgot about, is I'm writing code that I might not look at for a while, and when I come back to it, I want to make sure that I can actually look through it and know what it's doing, right? So yeah. Is it? I mean, that might also be a skill issue on just, typing. Like, you can see me just smashing my keyboard right there. Right? Like, the better you get at typing, the less difficult that is. Also, again, like, for the most part, you type something once and the autocomplete's going to autocomplete it for you as well. And like, how much time are you actually saving by typing 3 letters instead of 6 letters? Right? Yeah. IntelliSense is, and that's another major reason I use VS Code versus Roblox Studio, right? The Roblox Studio IntelliSense is pretty trash. I think Durf talked about that yesterday as well, but... Alright, so we need to... Now, on exit, right, once the plan has been completed, whether it succeeded or failed, we need to do a couple things. We need to do some cleanup. So we need to check if there are any Blackboard keys or anything that we were using that we need to clear. This one. I think that's the only one. So, wow. I can type, I promise. Like I said, 20 years. I finally got a new keyboard and it's been great. I've loved it, but I don't know. I also feel like over the past few years, my typing's gotten worse somehow, even though I think I've been typing more. Maybe that's part of it. I will also say, like, I'm only on like 3 hours of sleep since, again, 5 this morning, so let's see how well I can do. So we'll just paste this, and then we are going to do... I don't need this. going to clear that. So we're clearing the target key so it can store something else there, a different resource. All right. Essentially, I also have a hierarchy of thirst needs to be satisfied before hunger, which needs to be satisfied before sleep, finding shelter. So as soon as they satisfy their thirst, if they also are hungry enough to go and look for food, that's essentially queued up and the planner will immediately jump in and do that one. So we obviously want to make sure that that's cleared off so it can store a food source target at that point. Cool thing as well, I should point out for those who don't know, I actually wrote my water system, the water finding system, to find the terrain voxel for water, which is something I did because then the level designer, or the map designer, can go ahead and he can just design. He doesn't have to worry about placing, you know, certain like watering points, right? Water holes. And there is still in nature this thing where like animals have like a watering hole where they'll go and they'll actually like go to a certain specific location over and over again where they know that it's been safe before, so they'll go back to there and they'll drink water again from that same place. So there is some precedence to that, but at the same time, I want like bears to be able to just go, hey, there's water here, I can go fishing, or I can go get fish. I want any animal to be like, hey, I'm thirsty, and as they are maybe heading to the last memorized location they had for water, they come across other water, they can go and just say, well, there's water right there, I'm just gonna go and drink that water instead. Not 100% how nature does it, but it is easier to handle, in my opinion, for like I said, for the map designer. They don't have to try and figure out like where watering holes are and stuff. They just put water down and it works. Food sources and shelter sources are a different story though. Food for herbivores will be like, you know, places of like plant life that they can eat. So those will be specific places. Same thing with shelter. They'll be like little matted down parts of grass and stuff like that. So that's the idea anyways. All right, so we also need to ensure that we are, go ahead and set this as well. So our consume state of like water source found, we might actually want to no, because we'll still have the same place. Yeah, all right, so we'll also clean that up then. Just copy this. All right, and we'll do local consume state key, that, and then we'll do the blackboard itself. So we'll just do animal.blackboard index blackboard key. I believe I have like water source found. Yeah, okay, so do the consume state key equals false, no, right? No, false. And then lastly, we also need to, of course, actually commit the effect. Now this is specifically if let's say result equals we get the status I did this here too, and I should be able to just look right in the same thing here. No, okay, yeah, we don't have to do that. Never mind, but I do need to do the effect key, setting that to true, which is the water source found? No, the at water source, right? Yeah, the at water source, all right. I'm just gonna actually call it the same thing. It's basically the same thing anyways. And then we can do animal dot blackboard and index our blackboard key, and this is and we do have at water source. Yeah, so that works. Effect key. All right, that works. How did I learn to code very well on Roblox? Well, Luau was the, I don't know, 6th or 7th language that I learned for coding after having mastered at least 3 of those languages. And anytime you learn a coding language and you do really well at it, let alone mastering it, the next language you learn is just that much easier to learn. And the highly underrated documentation. Every programming language has documentation that you can go to and look at things. I highly recommend, like, if I'm going, okay, I want to know, like, what can I do with tables, and I can look at the table library, and I can see, like, all the different things they do, and then go, oh, concat, that's kind of cool. Returns the given range of a table element as a string where each element is separated by a given separator. Oh, that's actually kind of cool, right? So it's just kind of a thing. You just spend time learning your craft. Also, this is Roblox specific, this documentation, but none of these are Roblox specific. This is actually Luau specific, which you can go to luau.org, where they have their own documentation. And we can look in the libraries here, and you can see the table library, right? You can also see things like type checking, which is specific to Luau. This is one of the differences of Luau versus Lua. But you could also go to lua.org and the documentation, right? And if you really want to look into that kind of stuff. In fact, there's, and you can see though how, like, these documents have gotten kind of worse and worse as we've gone deeper into the parent language as it is. That tends to happen sometimes. Some people aren't all that good at writing documentation, but I love writing documentation myself personally. I like using Markdown for it, which is actually, I think, yeah, it's pretty much what they used here as well, was Markdown. And I think even in, well, this one's definitely more just straight web CSS essentially, but it is what it is. So that's how I learned. Just, I don't know, just time, effort, learning the craft, seeing other people's bullshit code and then realizing that they're doing it wrong, and going and figuring that out myself. It's part of why I have my YouTube channel doing what it is to try and say, hey, Roblox development community, do better. So we're gonna set this to true. That's all I was waiting on the whole time. All right, I think this is working. I think I should be able to test this now, because once we are at water source, that's what drink water needed, right? Yeah, it's at water source. And then this just does the thing it's gonna do. You're welcome. So in that case, yeah, let's go ahead and give it a test. What do you say? Alright, so we have a deer pop up here at our spawner. I'll go ahead and select him. You can ignore the animations. This is not the... I don't know if they're going to use this model. This is definitely not the end animation that they're going to use. You can see it looks like it's like ice skating. It's really weird. It was a scaling issue because they ended up scaling it weird. Anyway, so we can turn on debug mode here. We can see a bunch of stuff. We can see its current goal is to wander. Its action is to move to a wander point. We also have its thirst value being decayed here. I have its thirst being decayed at 2 minutes for testing. That's why it's going down so fast. The energy and hunger are also going down a little faster than they would otherwise. Actually, I think hunger might be correct. Alright, so it reaches point at idle, so it's now looking for a new plan to wander again. And it has found one. It has found another wander point. It's going to do that. Now our thirst, when it gets at or below 50, the animal is going to get thirsty and it's going to start running to look for water. Now it has a memory of its water here. However, I show the gizmos in its scent range. It will first check if there's any water within its scent range. The sphere here, which it is not. Okay, so it's failing to make a plan to satisfy thirst. So what we're gonna do, this is a really annoying bug. Maybe I should just use the regular map where it wasn't giving me that bug. It's not even really a bug, it's just a warning that it's just clamping things. I mean, I could clamp things to probably get rid of it as well. Is it in the awareness? In the awareness system that is doing that? Let's see. Get part bounds, radius, awareness radius. Coming from here. We'll do math.clamp. We are going to actually do this. So we are clamping that number between, we'll just take what they have here, 0 and 15,000. Let's see if that actually works or not. Just to get rid of that stupid error. No, see, it's still doing it. If we clamp it to smaller than that. I mean, it shouldn't ideally be going that far anyways. The awareness modifier is going to reduce it based on the weather type. And then like if I look at the deer config, awareness radius is 100. So that's definitely smaller, right? So I don't know, let's make it 1,000, why not? That is the radius portion, right? Is the center one? Yeah. Okay. Is it a different get part bounds and radius? Thought it was that one. Maybe not. Let's see. Do a full search here. Get part bounds radius. We have the awareness system, and then in our needs system, we're doing that as well, but we shouldn't be running that every second. Awareness system should be the only one that's running every second, so that's interesting. So I could clamp these two just to be on the safe side. Seems excessive, but excessive is usually safe. You know what I mean? We'll also make this 1,000. Their scent radius should never be more than that. Where else are we using this here? Scent radius, is that the same scent radius? Yes. I assume the same scent radius? No. Okay. Did I pass it? No. Right here. Okay. And again, this is a bug that doesn't actually even exist when I use the actual map, so that's what we're gonna do instead. I'm just gonna switch over to that. It's an object browser. What am I doing? It's also not anything I care about doing. Asset manager. That's what I'm doing. All right, places and experience. And this one up. Close this one. Disconnect it first. Close it. See like student projects that I have for my students, where they learn how to make like kill bricks and stuff. All right, close that. We can connect to this. Yes, I know I need to accept a bunch of stuff. You can ignore all the extra animal models that we were testing and stuff. In fact, a lot of these, all of this, except for my spawn point there. And you little guy. Just group that as a folder. All of it. Just call animal models, why not? I'm gonna drop this into not server storage because we're using that with an animal models. Replicated first because that makes no difference whatsoever. All right. Also, where do I find? How do I get rid of these? Aha. Can I do multiples at once? No. A 9. This is a cool new feature that they added though, that I like. Alright, now, I run here. We shouldn't have that problem. Yeah, see? No output issues, no. That is correct. Alright, well, you didn't wander very far. Yeah, this is much cleaner to look at as well. Yeah, so we can do the, we'll show the gizmos so you can see. So they have a scent range. This is this sphere. That is for them to find food, water, or shelter. Basically, that's their sight. And then they have their awareness range, which is basically their hearing and sight of possible threats. And then they've got their wander radius, which for this guy is pretty large. Right, so he could pick a point anywhere within that radius and wander to it, except anywhere across the river right now, because I have it turned off for them to walk through water, because I have to actually like adjust that a little bit. Alright, and then yeah, I forgot that you're doing a weird thing here. There we go. That tree is floating. Again, this is not a complete map, so it is what it is. Alright, so this guy is doing what now? In an idle. His thirst did not go. Here we are. Yeah, so he's failing because he's not concocting a plan. But now without all those errors popping up in between there, I can see a little bit better what's going to happen in there. So let me first of all this is all just the get part bounds in box. Yeah, so let's do get add. We'll add all of it, and then get commit. Do between 0 and 1,000. That works. Alright, I'm gonna go push that up to the repo so we don't have to worry about that. Alright, clear that, done, and we are going to close this. Leave that open for now. So I think these are the 4 actions that satisfy this goal. Alright, we have to basically drink water to satisfy thirst, so we have to be at the water, which move to resource moves us to the water. To move to a resource, we have to find a water source location, which is scan location for resource action. To get there, we have to actually, that is, move to resource. No, move to search point. And then to move to a search point, we have to determine a search point, which is this. So those are the 5 actions that it should be planning for us to satisfy thirst. So either one of those is failing or all of them are failing. So this one, we're going to double check that everything has a cost because that's important. It should, because I haven't gotten any errors on like type errors specifically. So then we're moving to a search point action, which has a cost. Then we are scanning location. This has a cost. And then we are moving to the resource. Has a cost. And then we're drinking water, which I know this one works because it worked just a little while ago. Alright, let's open up, what was that actually? Let's open up the animal class script here. This is another thing I'll have to go through and fix. There's some type errors because of the way that I'm handling actions, my action type. So that is what it is. Aha, I forgot. I completely forgot. I know what's going on. Alright. I have to go to my action registry and actually register this. So we have moved to water source action. We're no longer using this find water source action, so we can get rid of that. Because we're scanning for resource. In fact, let me pull this back up real quick, and we have find water source action. We can get rid of that. So this is actually what caused me to go through and do this anyways. I want to say March of 2023 was the very first time I opened up Roblox Studio. So, what was that, 2 years and 3 months? No, it took me a few months, as I was tinkering around. I was just learning the language, and the whole learning the language was like me just doing what I saw that they had, and then like it became this thing where I was like, man, I wish I could just code this in VS Code, right? Because that's just how I'm used to working, or Visual Studio, with Unreal Engine, where I originally came from game development wise. Before doing Roblox was Unreal Engine stuff. So using Visual Studio for that. and just, you know, having better IntelliSense and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, yeah, I wonder if there's a way. And that's when I looked up and I saw Rojo was a thing. So I got like deep into that and figured all that out. So like on my YouTube channel, I have like a pretty simple guide to, it's a lengthy video, but it's a pretty simple explanatory guide on how to set it up. However, one thing that is different is it's using Roblox LSP instead of Luau language server, or the actual language server, the LSP. And that's mostly because Roblox LSP is going to be the most similar to a studio experience for people. For example, if I were to look at this action, right, as I hover over this type, and you can see like it's got this like T10, T11, T2, T1, these are types. These are just, you know, indexed types essentially instead of specific values. In Roblox LSP, that would tell you specifically what that actually is. You know, like it would tell you, oh, this is, you know, one of these values or whatever. So that's kind of a main thing that Roblox LSP is a little better at than language, or Luau language server, but Luau language server also just lets me use regular strict mode and has better type checking because it's designed that way. Yeah, so it's a highly intelligent animal AI system for a hunting game animal ecosystem here. Yeah, so this find water source action is exactly why I decided to refactor this into separate, more generic actions, because I had this originally just looking for water from where the animal was, and then I was like, well, they need to, if they don't find water, they need to move somewhere else to look for it again. So I just built that into the same action, and then I built like moving to wherever they did find, and I was like, man, now this find action is doing like way more than it should. So yeah, hunting games are a lot of fun. They're relaxing sometimes too. Although sometimes you hear like a bear or something, you know, close by, and you're like, oh shit. Please don't eat me. So we don't need this anymore. This has been completely replaced. So I'm actually going to shift delete that, permanently delete that, get rid of that shit. Alright, we do have wander point, idle, that's fine. Resource search, wander point, scan. Alright, now we have all the actions that we're actually using are in here. So instead of move to water source action though, we are instead doing, was it just move to resource action, right? And let me just verify that though. Okay. But just like these three, it has the specification of needs resource. So this should automatically fill that in now with the constructor function. So that should kind of work. The game's name, I believe, is Wild North. I believe. I'm gonna say it is because I named my development environment Wild North Dev, and my code project is named Wild North Distracted Games, so I assume that's what it is. It's been a while since I've looked at that though. Alright, so now let's go ahead and see, let's go ahead and test it. Deer should spawn at our little spawn point here that we set up for it. Oop, there it is. Alright, we'll go ahead and select him. We'll go ahead and turn on our debug mode and see what he's doing. Did he decide to wander to that spot? Let's find out. So he's going to think a little bit about a new wander point. He's found a new wander point. This actually is strange that it takes 7 seconds sometimes for it to create the wander plan. I'm going to have to look into that. That's why that's struggling, essentially. I don't know if it's because like values haven't been set properly. Ooh, that reminds me, I have to stop this. Because I have to make sure that our values are actually being set properly here. I don't think I actually changed any values. I think I just tied into ones that exist. Because up here, our world states has water search point, water source found, at water source. I think that's it. So maybe that is fine then. Okay. Sorry, I just had to check that. All right, let's see how it goes. I could shorten the thirst decay value to be faster. Basically, we're waiting for this to drop to 50 or less. You can see it there behind the chat. Could probably put chat on the other side of the screen on this window. I'm gonna do that because I have a little bit of time to do that. You and you. No, that doesn't really work, does it? Alright, well, we'll ignore that then. Alright, let's find our guy here. But the reason I don't have this set to a lower decay rate is because it essentially... I want the deer to wander away from the river sometimes. Now in this case... Okay, our current plan is nothing. It's still just hanging there. Interesting, interesting, interesting. Just cast that to fix that, right? Table of action. No. No. Because it can't be cast into that. Could not be converted into that. This is so stupid. Type table of action or nil could not be converted into a type of table of action or nil. Uh-huh. Sure, sure. Thanks. Yeah, I keep getting told I should do like ASMR or something. It also helps that I'm anal about my audio and I spent a while setting up my mic to be buttery smooth. Let's see. So what is the problem? I mean, actually, we have that being printed here. Exactly what I needed. So why is it not getting a plan? Our execute plan is coming from way down here. So if plan and length of plan is greater than 0, then we're executing the plan. Why do I use Rojo? This is the #1 question I get. Because nobody understands the power of professional coding versus just whatever Roblox is giving you. The fact is I could literally just put it this way. Roblox themselves, the developers at Roblox themselves, use VS Code. They use Rojo. Specifically, a lot of them are starting to use Rojo TypeScript, which is being able to type Rojo code using TypeScript, which is generally typed JavaScript. Basically just a good way there. Yeah, or you could use Vim, right? You could use any external editor other than Roblox Studio, because Roblox Studio is constantly playing catch up. The fact is like, I use VS Code because I like the customization, right? Like I've got, like this doesn't look like VS Code. You know, like having even this pop up and even being rounded with a shadow and stuff like that. Like none of that is VS Code. This with my logo, that's not VS Code, right? It is though. I just customized one. So I will point out two main reasons just to answer the question in case anybody's wondering, including not Iris plays. Number one is source control. I don't typically come over here and use this as much, but Git and GitHub and version control. It's partially something that's been ingrained in me in years of working in the industry and years of working with teams and having to collaborate and all that. But also even as a solo developer, being able to have, you know, a very clear breadcrumb trail of like what I've done and be able to just roll right back to something if I want to, right? Being able to see very easily like what changes I made, when I made those changes, having like a lot of control over that, hands down is just way better. Even this, like I'm in a feature branch, I'm not in my master branch, my main code branch. So if this for whatever reason turns out to be absolute trash, I've lost no work of what I had that was working before, because I can just roll back to that branch or just eliminate this branch and just use the other branch. So that's number one. Number two is the IntelliSense, the linter, the you know, basically being able to do all the different things that I can do with the extensions in this case, but you know, like Luau language server handles type checking, in my opinion, usually a little bit better than Roblox Studio. Selene is a better type checker. Stylua, like there's plugins you can get to do some of the things that these extensions do within Roblox Studio, but it's still, it's the experience of using it just isn't as good. So that's one. What did I do? Also, I can just get rid of this and right, so that is fine. You know what, AI, what do you say? What do you say, Copilot? Remove find water source action from action registry and update dependencies. Yeah. Add move to resource action. Yeah, that's more how that goes, but also I typically do this instead of using the usually have that just closed over there, so like so. All right, what was I doing? I was looking at why this isn't working. So we're not building a plan, which is unusual. We know the planner's working, it's doing the wander idle stuff. So it is. So yeah, this is one of the issues I'm starting to find with doing the multicast with Twitch and YouTube, is that now my monitoring screen of myself is like way over there on my other screen. I'm not really looking at it most of the time. Whereas before I had it like right down here in the corner and I was able to just look at it over there. But now instead I have this, so I can see all the stuff, as well as music and stuff, so yeah. Fun. I could, I suppose, still pop this in there. Like, how far back do I need to see YouTube chat, I guess? Doesn't even have to be a very big window. something like that, right? Now I have this. All right, that's enough stream stuff though. Anyway, so let's see. All right, so this is the weird thing, is that the length of plan has to be greater than 0. You actually have to have a plan be returned in order for us to even run the execute plan. No. Because we are also running this as long as current plan is something. I'm gonna do something I don't normally do here. We're just gonna use a regular debug print string. Actually, I'm gonna make this a warn so it stands out at me. We're gonna do a JSON decode of our self.current. And see what that does for us. And of course we have to wait for the animal to not be stuck. Are you one missing or no? Well, that's new. Is there an update? Okay. So current plan was nil. That's why it's coming back that way. Okay. In that case, I mean, I know that I'm getting the printout for, you know what, let's just stick it here instead. Let's do, same thing. We'll do a warn and JSON decode, and we will do our plan. You're wondering why I'm using JSON decode for this? It's because it's a table, and if I don't do that, it will just give me the memory address of the table, and I want it to actually, like, serialize the table for me. Let's see what's going on. Accept specs of string, table is passed. Use the power of the print function, I suppose. Okay, this works. Okay, find water point, move to water point, idle. That's the plan there. Right. Still the plan. Then the plan is nothing for a little while. New plan, same thing. You're wondering why it does it twice. It's because this is actually firing on every frame. Maybe I should slow that down. It's not goat, although you could use this for goats. It's goap. G-O-A-P as in Papa. Goap. Goal-oriented action planning. Alright, so he should be thirsty here in just a second. And there we go. Alright, so we have nil coming back as planned. So this is failing, and then this comes back, this is nil. So we're just setting this to nil, and then it's going to try and replan. It's going to try to do it all over again. That's what it's doing. Cool. Okay, so in that case... Okay, we have that, and that is exactly what we called that, right? Yep. Okay. It's interesting because I had this working relatively well before this, so... It's definitely annoying. Alright, so let's step through and figure out what's going on. So we have our... I'll just shrink all this down. There's a lot of stuff open that we don't need. We have our goal, satisfy thirst. Now I know this is fine. I know this is working. It is setting the goal. In fact, we can see it when we are doing the stuff, and it says satisfy thirst. So even when I move my screen over here to look at it, I still take a second to realize that I'm not on the screen I'm looking at. I mean, keep in mind, like, this is my full screen. I have a 43-inch monitor, so like everything is just a corner of my screen. It's getting warm in here. Turn my fan on. Alright, so I know that this is fine. I know this is working. How do I manage? Well, I also have a second monitor that is vertical. It's a 27-inch monitor. It's mounted vertically. At the top, I have Discord. In the center, I have OBS Studio. And at the bottom, currently I have another browser page. In this case, it's my YouTube live stream stats, in case I want to look at that. I manage because I have all the information I need at my disposal. I can see chats right in front of me. I have you know, documentation. I have my code editor. I have Studio. I'm not looking at too many things at once. I'm focusing on one corner. That's why it takes me so long to start typing in VS Code and then go, oh, I'm not on VS Code. Let me switch over to that. You just learn to focus on one screen at a time. Each corner of my screen is a 1080p screen. It's I don't know, how big would that be? Like a 24-inch monitor, roughly? Yeah, it's roughly 2 feet across diagonally. So yeah, I have like 4 24-inch monitors essentially in front of me is what it looks like. I don't always have stuff open like this. Like, I'm streaming, so I have a bunch of stuff open in my bottom right corner here. Normally I would have VS Code actually all on one side there and just nice and long, but not in this case. You don't know where to start, watch my channel. I go over beginning stuff, teaching you how to code using Roblox, and I teach you the right way by teaching you how things work as opposed to just how to do a thing. Because you can take how something works and you can apply it to doing a thing and you'll have a much better understanding of it. So, yeah. You get distracted too easily? Dude, my name is Distracted Games. I get distracted too easily. And if I can do it, I guarantee you can too. It just takes a little bit of focus. You have to focus on what you're doing. I know the drink water is fine, but let's take a look at that real quick. So our drink water action has a precondition that at water source is true. Let's check these one at a time then. Starting to think about this here. Let's go ahead and this get world state is being used elsewhere. Coming from the planner, I bet. Yep, right there. Get world state. All right. And we also have get desired state as well, but let's see. So we could do this on updates. Could do it on update goal and plan, which is the slower one. This evaluates the world, so this might actually be the best place to print this out. That's kind of what we're getting here, right? If needs new plan. Yeah, let's drop it in here. All right, let's do after we've gotten a plan, I'm gonna go ahead and print out self.blackboard. We'll index our blackboard key dot what was it, at water source, right? Yeah. So we just want to know that one in particular for now. Because it should be at water source needs to be true. So we should see it be false right now in order to not have an issue with it. Turn debug mode on so we can see what's going on here as well. This is a testing period that I might actually want to drop that down to like 30 seconds or something instead. Then it'll take 15 seconds to get to 50, which will trigger the satisfy thirst goal instead of a minute. We're waiting right now. Okay, so it is nil, which is fine because it's not true. Okay, so what satisfies at water source? That should be the move to resource action. The effect is to set at blank source to true, at water source in this case. I could also just start implementing some more debug strings in the actions themselves, would kind of tell me what's going on there, but in this case it's not going to matter. It's the planner is failing to plan this out because something's not connected correctly. So we are setting at water source in this case to true on exit, which is exactly what we want. We're committing to our effect. We are also consuming our water source found here by setting that to false. Or nil, I guess we could do too. Save the memory, actually. And then I think we need to go to the first one because we can check to see if that one is correct. And that is to determine a search point action, right? Just needs to say has that false. So let's see if has water search point is false somewhere. So let's come up here, just jump up here real quick. It's up in this. Has water search point. Aha, there it is. Because coming back is nil, not false. Which does also mean we do want to make sure these are false, not null. Just double check these are good. Are we not consuming? Does this one determine search point action? Oh, there's nothing to consume on this one. Okay, and then once we've found a search point, move to search point. And we need to consume our previous state, which it doesn't look like we're doing, which was has search point. Let the consume key. New state, world state, index, consume key equals false. And then we need to actually set that down here as well. Is there anything else we're using that we need to clean up in this as well? Let's see. Search point. No. Yes. Hold on, because then we have, what is it, scan location. Let's see, we are... It gets a little harder to read once you start making these more generic functions, but... And again. See, nobody's even calling me out this time. I've been working VS Code this whole time. Alright, I have to move this somewhere more noticeable, I think. Or just get used to looking there, I suppose. So you're talking about me being too distracted? Or I was too focused at that time. Couldn't see anything there. Alright, so in this case... we are... Water source found to be false. So we're consuming that. These need to be false. False. is seeking water is false instead of nil. Actually, these ones can be nil. These are actually literally just the blackboard ones, not the other ones. Also here I see water source target and water source found are both being set and being cleaned up there. But we are not consuming our at water search point. So we'll do local consume key equals, actually we have this up here, right? We don't. Oh, we need to do that then. New state, index, world state, consume key, which we didn't actually make yet. Set that to false. See, it's the little things you gotta go through and find here. And this is going to be what was it at? Is this the only place I did this differently? I think it was. Anyways, now I should just be able to copy this into here, like so. And then we are using this down here to actually set this animal.blackboard, index blackboard key, index consume key equals false. So that actually commits to that promise that it made. We don't have those here though. So we will do that here as well. Wait, we have has water search point. We don't have the ats though. I'm gonna go and copy these. Paste them. Just make this real easy on ourselves here and say at for all of them, done. Okay. Continue double checking just to make sure. So we have determined a search point. We know that we are committing to our promise, right? As resource search point, as resource search point, yep. Then we are going to move to the search point where our promise is to have at resource search point is true and has resource search point is false. And we have our at resource search point is true. We do not have our false here, so now we can do our consume state. This one here. Why we go through and do these. We'll do animal.blackboard index blackboard key index soon be false. Okay. So once we've moved to a search point, then we are going to scan that location, in which case we are promising the effect of water source found or resource source found is true and at resource search point is false. So down here we have the if target is found, water source found is true. This is just a Blackboard value to actually have a target to move to and whatnot. And then we have our so when this becomes false, we might also want to force a replan otherwise. But the at search point is false here. So I'm wondering, oh, well, we are doing that, right? Because whether it succeeds or fails of finding a target, it's still clearing that out as cleanup. It's part of the cleanup. Well, part of the commitment, which is fine. So, all right, and then once we've scanned for a resource action, then we are going to obviously end up with a target that we can go to. So we're going to move to the resource, and we are promising that at resource source is true, and the resource source found becomes false. Is that the same one that we're setting here? Resource source found, yeah. So down here we are saying at resource source is true, and we're consuming the state as well. So, okay, so this ideally looks like it's set up more correctly. We're gonna find out. All right, hold on, let me just real quick, I'm gonna go through and grab the other print string that I made somewhere down here, I believe. Yeah, this. And just get rid of that because we don't need it. But I do need to fix my type errors in here at some point, but that's not today. So, all right, anyways, so let's go ahead and run and see what happens. We'll select our deer, we'll put them in debug mode so we can see. Deer is struggling to plan the wander idle state now for some reason. Interesting. Oh, I touched anything that broke that. Unless I'm unknowingly using the same Blackboard value somewhere. But this is fine. He can just sit there and fail the wander idle loop. I'm more concerned about the thirst loop right now anyways. So as soon as we get to 50 or below, we'll see what happens here. Okay. And it's failing to plan for satisfy thirst as well. Fascinating. Alright, so we've somehow made things worse. This is what happens when you've only had a few hours of sleep. Almost 24 hours ago. Alright, progress, technically. What I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and mark down what I've done here. Completed setup of the refactored generalized resource goal satisfying actions, though there are logic bugs causing planner to fail to find a plan for completing or satisfying the satisfy thirst goal. More work needs to be done to improve up this system. Alright. Note for myself so I know what's going on. And then we are going to actually switch gears here. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to close this place. I'm going to start looking at this from Project 100, which is a different project. Dismiss that for now. Turn that off. Let's see. Alright, so I'm basically looking to estimate about how much time and effort it's going to take me to rewrite or completely refactor this trash right here. More than this, though, there's a little bit more to it. Where else did he put stuff? Right here, right? No. Wasn't in there. Here. Yeah. How did I make my UI? This is actually pretty simple. So I just opened up Photoshop or even Photo P. I think I was using Photo P because my Photoshop installation on my desktop computer is busted and I need to, like, it won't even reinstall and let me open it properly. I have to reset my entire PC. Or I could painstakingly spend the time going into the registry and cleaning up a bunch of registry stuff, and I don't feel like doing that. I really need to just refresh my computer anyways. But I've been putting that off for, I think, close to a year now. So I just used Photo P. I do still use Adobe Illustrator as well, though. But essentially, I just created a shape using some shapes and a cutout of another shape to make this shape here, which you can kind of see in multiple places. Apply a transparency gradient for it. We had some icons and icon pack for Sword Art Online that I then took inspiration from and created a bunch of other additional icons for different weapon types and stuff that we have. And then basically went in and kind of set all that up. I don't think I have this, yeah, something's messed up and I forget about that. Character data manager. Oh yeah, because I was working on refactoring something and it might fail to do so with that version of the code. So let me open VS Code that, see where I'm at on that. Which branch am I on right now? Take a look over here. Hello, McFly. Which branch am I on? Come on. Take your time. Take your time. Jeez, yeah, I was gonna say I might as well just pull this up and get status. Just to see. On branch master, okay. We are behind by 1 commit. Go ahead and pull that in then. Right, the readme. I had to remove somebody. A contributor that ended up not contributing to the project. Anyways, okay, so I'm on the master branch, so that should ideally... I mean, that's our stable branch, so let me go ahead and serve that. And pop into here, we'll connect and accept. Because it doesn't actually break anything, because I can go from branch to branch. Anything that's changed or different either gets removed or added or adjusted to be what it is for that exact branch. So I can actually test my branches really easily too, which is nice. Now when I play, this should be a lot more error-free. Like I said, stable version, right? Also, yeah, there's other things. So I also have it like it's detecting if I'm playing in studio, so I get dev test controls that I can pull up and do some different things on. So we have a auto-populating keybind helper here that you can also shrink away if you decide you don't want that on your screen. You can do that. And then obviously this all updates. I haven't finished the skill stuff. I need to move this because obviously it's in the way with like chat and stuff. We were, I think, considering doing our own chat somewhere else so that it doesn't pop up here, but obviously you're still gonna have some Roblox stuff up here, so I do need to move that. That's something I didn't think about while I was doing stuff. You also will have a party UI right here and a quest tracker up here. And then obviously some stuff at the top and bottom. It's not the easiest to see like what's... I forgot I still have the... I'm still doing the lines. That's been reworked. A lot of this stuff's been reworked. I haven't updated my dev template in a while, but otherwise, and then like I developed this whole menu here as well, which looks weird because I'm not using a device like this, which is proper format. I mean, it doesn't, you know, nothing's being stretched because obviously I use proper like scale and constraints and stuff, but we can definitely span this out a little bit so we can see a little bit better. So yeah, so we have menus and stuff. We have the equipment menu that I made, which is kind of nice, right? Some of this is going to get a little reworked as well, so we got to do some other things, but including like preloading all this stuff so that it doesn't do that. In fact, I have, I think in my issue section in GitHub, I have to set something for that, so. But like I can equip the Berserk sword here, and it will show you not only like an image of the sword, but also like the rarity, right? Based on the color there. And so this is one of the icons I made here. So this is a two-handed sword icon, right? If I go in and do a one-handed sword instead, like, I don't know, leather sword, which is blue, right? It's a one-handed sword icon. Or I can do the dagger. Where's the dagger? And have a little dagger icon. Obviously this, you know, when you're playing at a full-size screen, it looks a little bit better, but I have it disabled to even be able to draw a weapon right now. That's interesting. Well, that's annoying. So you also have SP up here that you can charge up to perform your skills. You have a parry cooldown shield here, so if you parry somebody, you can see like it doesn't look that bad when it's all shrunk up like this. So maybe I don't need to move it, or maybe I already moved it. I don't remember. I don't know. I love doing UI though, so that's what else can I do? I can... Right, so I have I can toggle the HUD. I don't have this turned on apparently, or included in that, but I'll be able to just fade everything in and out. That is trickier than it looks, by the way. To have things fade in and out like that, which I even do like with my menus to have them fade in, all the transitions and stuff. That's all handled with one script, a GUI manager, with a transitions table that holds different transitions that I can just call slide or fade or both, or expand, because we have alerts that will pop up and it expands out just like in the show Sword Art Online. I can print my player data, which prints a table down here, and then I could level up, which increases my health. Apparently this spawns a collidable part, so we're gonna have to fix that. I didn't realize that was a thing. As you can see, it's updating my level. It's right, it's currently set to 1,000 experience per level regardless. But that also, you can come in here and see your level, actually. So that's incorrect. Did that not read the first level up? May not have read one of the first ones. Bug found. Alright. And then I can damage my player, which is kind of cool because you can see the transition effects as well. Right, it changes to yellow and then it changes to red. If I were looking at... or if another player is looking at me, they could also see my health bar above my head. I don't think I have anybody that has that, because these are all NPCs. There's a really dark border around him. So does he. I think that's just a player border thing. I don't know that any of these have the health bar stuff on them, actually. They don't. Anyways, and it accurately reflects this as well. One thing, like with the health bars, I really wanted to do the curved health bar, like around the head, but no bueno. Roblox doesn't really cater to attaching a decal to a sphere, essentially, is what you'd have to do for that. And have it actually conform to the sphere. So the way around that is to essentially make multiple small decals that actually like fade into each other and arrange them in a sphere-like pattern, and that's additional memory and additional headache that's really unnecessary when you can just have a little bar. Basically it does the same thing, it's just a mini version of the bar there. So that is what it is. How long have I been scripting for? I have been in computer science and programming for 20 years. Soak it in. Alright, so yeah, this tag script is a really bad one. I have this over here. I do. In fact, I think I have all of it over in VS Code, so we're gonna go over to VS Code and look at it over here. So yeah, so I have this tag script is one of the worst ones that we have. I am using the language server still. Yeah. Wow. All right. So let's take a look at just how bad some of this is. So we can already see we've got errors here. This error is instance cannot be converted into a particle emitter, so there's a type error. We've got a bunch of warnings. Combat's a shadowed variable. Could almost guarantee if we looked through here, we're gonna find some deprecated stuff too. Also, like, look at this: game.debris, 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 game.debris. Just get the debris service up at the top at that point, right? There's another version issue. Looks like a lot of repeated code that could either be put into loops or just handled better otherwise. The alive data stuff, we've already, I think, worked on moving that stuff out, or was that... no, that hasn't been finished. The guy that I assigned to do that has been busy, so... We've only been scripting for 20 days. We'll stick with it. That's the other thing too, is like coding is a use it or lose it skill. If you take a week off, you're gonna struggle to get back into whatever you were doing when you come back to it. So, yeah. Is this code I wrote? Does this look like code I wrote? You've been looking at the code I've been writing. No, somebody asked me earlier, do I ever hate working with someone else's code? Absolutely. No, this is, so at the beginning of the year, or late at the end of last year, I had taken a hiatus from the game after writing pretty much the whole foundation of the game's code. And one of the owners hired a guy to come in and redo our combat system, because I just did like a really basic combat system. I had like implemented much into it. I was still working on like all the foundational stuff, the systematic stuff of the game. And then when I came back, so it turned out like he did a good job on the combat system as far as like it felt good, it felt like what we wanted, it looked kind of like what we wanted. There was some lagginess here and there, and you know, some optimization that needed to be happen that we could see, but otherwise like the actual general look and feel of it was in very much the right direction. So we thought, cool, that's cool. And then I got to looking, and I mean, I was still hands-off but hands-on on the project, and was like, hey, you know, if you have questions, like if you need to see like how to implement with our systems that we have, because I'm using a yeah, no problem, Julian, you have a good one. Because I'm using a component system for the actor components, essentially, basically an attack component, dodge component, block component, skill component, like that sort of stuff, right? So that both NPCs and players can use those, because players will have most of those things. Well, they'll have all of those ones specifically I listed off. They'll have most of the components, but NPCs will be able to do, okay, so if it's like a bandit, right, or a humanoid sort of character, they might have a lot of like block or dodge ability, right? So we can just drop those components into those NPCs, whereas something like a boar is not going to have that, but it will have like a skill component, because it's going to have like a charge skill. You know, it's going to have an attack component, it's going to be able to attack, but it's not going to be able to dodge, and it's not going to be able to block or anything like that, right? That's a little different. It's a little beyond its scope of ability. But this guy ended up basically just ignoring all of that because he didn't understand it, and he didn't want to reach out to me and ask me about it. So he just wrote his whole thing. Honestly, if I do, I think I actually have it right here. Oh yeah, character handler original. All right, prepare yourself. So this, first of all, I'll show you where this script exists. So, starter character scripts, there is a server script in here called character handler. Right away, right? That's weird. Alright, so let's think about that first of all. Anything you put in starter character scripts, you know where that ends up? Hide the chat so you can see. If I go into my character, all that stuff ends up in here, including that character handler script. That means that this script is going to be a brand new copy of this script for every single player that joins the game when they join the game and their character loads in. And then we are planning on being permadeath, so the whole respawn thing doesn't really matter in the long run. Currently we do have respawns in because, at least to a loose extent, things are still kind of broken, but it's because we're working around like, how can we, while testing, have, you know, not permadeath, because that's kind of annoying to have to like go through a whole system. But we have a purgatory system that basically when your character dies you get teleported to purgatory, and then I think for testing purposes, we might as well just have, there's an NPC in there that we could just have you talk to and basically reload back into the game and respawn, right? So I mean, that seems like a no-brainer, but we haven't implemented that fully yet and focusing on a lot of other things. But anyways, long story short, so yeah, this is being populated for each character and being ran for each character, which in itself is not great. If it was something simple and not like performance hungry, that would be one thing. But then We can go back and look at the actual code here. Turn the chats back on real quick. And go back in here and look at the code. So first of all, deprecated, right? Second of all, let's go ahead and enable the good old strict mode as well. So I mean, over here, you can't really, yeah, you can see it actually. Lots of errors, lots of warnings and stuff, but so when it's grayed out like this, that is unused. It's not used at all. In fact, if we hover over this one, it's probably also an unused variable. No, it's a shadowed variable called character because, oh look, they local character script.parent within the same screen. Like even if you know, were for whatever typing, you know, this is zoomed in and this is massive on my screen, by the way. How can you not see that you've just done script.parent twice to get the character? Anyways, so that's part of it, right? You can just see the organization, you know, this is creating another local variable. It's not just rewriting character or reassigning a value to character. It's technically creating a second variable called character and assigning it another value, which is taking up some memory, right? And again, remember, this is, you know, if we have 50, we're aiming for like 100 players on a server. Obviously, we're aiming for that. Doesn't mean we're going to have 100 players on the server. Just depending on, like, I'm big on optimization. I'm going to try to make sure that we can optimize things in a way that we can have as many players as possible on a single server. Because it's an MMO and you should be able to see other players. You should be able to party up with people. And I want to especially have with orgs, right? Have your guilds, right? All grouped together and take on like world bosses. And I want the world bosses to be epic enough that, you know, maybe 20, 30 players are all in there at the same time fighting it while, you know, there's another 30, 40, 50 players everywhere else on the map doing other things. Or, you know, when you go to do boss raids for the dungeons and stuff, you know, I want to make sure that you can have like a good group of people to go and do that, because that is true to the spirit of Sword Art Online, right? Yeah, it is. There's the whole thing, like, as I look through it, and this is what I'll be doing. So so the owner has basically come back to me now and said, hey, you know, I've already looked at this and known about this, and I've been picking pieces of it off and tasking it off to other people to essentially start to eliminate this and move it into our own systems and rewrite it better. We've made very little progress in the grand scheme of things, but this is something that we've just kind of been putting off because he hasn't had the money to pay me for it. I'm part owner of a percentage of the game, but I also have a 4.5-month-old baby, and I need to make sure that the time I'm spending is paid for. And I'm not cheap, but so he's asking me now, basically saying, because he's having some success in another game that he's been working on, and we finally started up a Patreon page, which I was pushing him to do because people want to support the game, like let them support the development of the game, just like a Kickstarter or something, you know. So we have a Patreon page now and stuff, and like any money that we get towards it can actually go put towards, you know, like to go towards paying my bills so that I can actually sit down and not just work on this in my free time, which I don't really have much of, but I can actually sit down and say, I'm being paid to do this. I can actually sit down and work through it and do it. So he wants me to basically go through and try to estimate like how much I would charge for it. And that's what we're here doing right now, is kind of looking through and doing that. Now, there's a little trick too, is that I had already gone through this and done a slightly cleaned up version of this, and you can already see. So this is technically the same script. I don't have strict mode on here because it's still going to give me a bunch of crap, but not as bad. You can already see, like, there's no more warnings, right? All that's cleaned up on the side here. You can see that the layout is much closer to what you would see with one of my sort of scripts, right? I've gathered all my services up the top. I've got any requires here. We're doing the character loaded wrapper, which is another thing that I implemented. So I started already working on this a little bit. But yeah. So the other thing that I wanted to point out that they did is this alive data, because this is something that I didn't realize people out there think is a good idea or is the right way to do things. So I do want to call this out for anybody that is watching. What they've done is they have in here a folder called alive data. In there, they have a folder for cooldowns, status effects, and then they have these different int values, string values, and things of that nature. These are fine, right? String values and stuff, that's fine if you want to have them on there. Keep in mind that usually just assigning these like this is not good. So for example, here we have max SP. I guess I should just leave the text, the chat off on that so you can see. So here we have max SP, right here above my head. This is on the character from starter player service, which, can anybody tell me what's wrong with that? Let's say that I'm even just halfway decent at exploiting, and I know how to access anything that I can access from my client. Guess what's on my client? Anything from starter player, any of the starter services. So if I want to say, oh, my max SP is 1,000, and my current SP is always 1,000, so I'm always at max SP, I can just fire off skills left and right, not have to sit there and charge it, right? You can see how that's a problem. So yeah, you want to have the server set these values, and make sure that it's continuously checking them as well, which he technically does by having them in the server script, but the server script being in starter player has its own issues regardless. That's not really much of the problem. Like I said, having these int values, string values, whatever in here, not as much the problem. The big problem is the way they handle this live data, because if we look at, yeah, you would have the server check it, but you're gonna have, when you go through the second script with me on here, it's the input, the client input, I think. No, it's input client is what it's called. That is a local script that is a child of this character handler script, and that is directly accessing and changing those values, which is on the client side. So again, in theory, it's fine as long as you have the server handling it. They didn't in some places, and that's like, all right. But yeah, so with the alive data, let me show you this here. So, so this sprint value, for example, right? When you start sprinting, he's doing this server sprint event that he created, which is also like he put all of his events inside of the character handler scripts child as well, right? It's a child folder events for his remote events. I mean, that is what it is. Again, he had no organization towards things whatsoever, so that is what it is. But we can see when you start sprinting, what he's doing is he's checking if there's not a sprint folder, there's not a sprint child in there. He's creating a folder called sprint. And then he's destroying this folder called sprint whenever you stop sprinting. He does this for all of the different data values that he wants to check against. He is creating instances and destroying instances for things like sprinting, for things like stun, for things like iframes when you dodge. See if we can find any more of them. And again, this is my mostly cleaned up version of this script, by the way. It's a stun guarding action, so when you're blocking, like, there's a folder gets created for that. When you start charging for a skill, folder gets created for that, called SP charging. Insane, right? There's so many issues with that. So previously I was the only scripter. Well, when he hired me, I was the only scripter. We basically just said, whatever's there, just get rid of it. Just go ahead and start from scratch. So it was just me. And then, like I said, I took a hiatus, and that was, I think, one of the first people that he went and had come in to do something, especially something major like a combat system. He learned his lesson. I explained to him what tech debt is. So if you are not familiar, I can pull up here. So technical debt, also known as tech debt, refers to the potential future rework required due to prioritizing speed and quick fixes over optimal code solutions in software development. It's a concept that acknowledges the trade-offs made during development, where choosing a faster, less robust solution now can lead to increased effort and costs later. Just a little bit. So yeah. Yeah, so never again. He learned his lesson. He knows what's going on. In fact, so what we do now, I have, as I mentioned earlier in the stream, I actually love writing documentation. So like I wrote an onboarding guide that I have for our new guys when they come on. And it talks about everything from setting up VS Code and Git and Roho and all of that, cloning the repository from GitHub so that you're working in our system and doing all that. And then also, like, I go over, like, here's how our repository works. I go over the actual project structure. And yes, I do have, like, you know, pictures and all sorts of stuff for you to see exactly how to do things. And then key directories, and I go through, you know, explanations on what those are, and this is always available to them, so they can always come back and look at that. I talk about how we're using a modular framework, so there should be no server scripts, there should be no client scripts, no local scripts, no scripts. They should all be module scripts. There should be a single server script, 2 local scripts, one in starter player scripts and one in replicated first for the loading screen. Technically, I also have a health script to override the normal humanoid health bar stuff, because we're using our health bar, and a custom animate script for something I didn't actually show in here. So customize the animate script to actually handle shift lock, to do a smooth shift lock. It does a nice smooth shift lock for us. There we go. It's kind of hard to do in Studio, but... And of course changes the icon as well. Nice and smooth. Anyways, what else do we have in here? Again, I have code examples as well of how to use things. Our network module that we use for all of our remote events that we're converting a lot of stuff over to, we're no longer really making a remote event. Instead, we're having it created when the server starts, and accessing things through the network module. Type checking, I go over like how to use type checking so that we're writing type safe code. Then I have our Git workflow and branching strategy so that everybody's making their own branch, and nobody is committing to master or stable, just me, so I handle all of that. When someone creates a new branch, a feature branch, they work on it. Once they've finished working on it, they submit it to me for review. I go through and check and make sure, A, that the code's written well and that everything works the way it's supposed to, looks good, and also that it's not going to have any merge conflicts with our master branch, and if it does, I handle those, so that I can make sure that everything is correct and cohesive and always working. Our master branch is always a stable branch. As you saw, I was able to just load up the master branch and it works significantly better than what the last one did, which wouldn't even get past the loading screen. And then, yeah, this goes through like how you actually use Git and stuff for keeping your code updated and everything. And then handling your own merge conflicts within your own branch. And then that's pretty much it. But then, when he does go, you know, somebody's like, hey, I want to, you know, come work for you, whatever. He has me basically assign them a task or look over their code and see if they're going to be good enough. The hard part is determining, like, did you write this or did you, you know, have AI write this or did you take this from somebody else? It's hard to determine that, right? It can be really difficult, but I think I do a well enough job most of the time. Interesting, the YouTube chat stays on, but not the Twitch chat. I thought I'd fixed that. Yeah, it is. Again, I can kind of go back to like how I write my code, and sometimes it looks like my code is AI generated in some cases because it's too well written, I guess you could say. It's funny, I watched a video the other day on people submitting papers and how to tell if, or no, what was it was like comments or something, like how you can tell if something is written by an LLM and like the structure that it tends to do things. And one of the things that they called out is using the using this symbol here. I'll put it in both chats here. The M dash, which is not a regular, here's just a regular hyphen, right? Minus sign, regular dash. And I end up using that. I mean, I use it all the time. You usually use it for like interruptions within a sentence or to emphasize something, obviously. And like a lot of people just don't know how to use it. And it was one thing, like I didn't know how to do it on mobile, but you would always look at I also write in Markdown all the time in like Discord. So, you know, it comes out looking like, you know, the documentation that you saw me writing there. And it's like, guess who also uses Markdown and these M dashes a lot, these LLMs, when they come up with their responses. So a lot of the stuff I write ends up looking like what an LLM is gonna write. And I'm like, I use bullet points, I use M dashes, I use headers, and, you know, I make sure that, you know, code is formatted in a code block as opposed to just, you know, text. So it can be hard sometimes depending on, you know, who's writing it, whatever, but... Alright, so I have to do the alive data stuff. That's mostly going to be pretty easy because I can just Control F on a live data like this and look through and find all the different values and determine what needs to be... in fact, I don't even really want to use the string values or int values or anything. I'd much rather use attributes. They're easier, and it's easier to tie into the get attribute changed signal to do a lot of things. So that's mostly a big chunk out of here. As you can see, like I've searched for live data and you can see all the results in yellow over here on the side. There's a lot of this alive data stuff, checking alive data values and then finding them and destroying them and creating them and all that. It's like, man, there's way easier ways to do this. He's using coroutine wrap instead of just task.spawn for some reason. I mean, he's not. If he were doing anything with like resume and yield or anything like that, I could understand wanting to use the coroutine library. There's no reason to use the coroutine library if you're not going to use the coroutine library. You're only going to use a single function out of it, a single method out of it, it's a waste. Coroutine is very powerful. You know, use the task library, task.spawn will get you the same exact functionality, but without creating a coroutine, because this coroutine, alright, if we hover over wrap here, creates a new coroutine, returns a function that when called resumes the coroutine. Alright. You could also just call coroutine.new, assign it this function, and then resume, like call coroutine resume, and that's what's happening here. Now what's happening with those coroutines when they're not in use? They're taking up memory. That's what's happening. Just lost my preview. There we go. So again, more memory issues, right? Another thing that this is doing, let's see if I can find this. Oh, actually right here I can look. Can anybody tell me what is happening here? Right. We have this emit. You know what you use emit on? The emit method? I'll wait. What is happening right now? Like things automatically expanding? That's so strange. I don't know why my autocomplete's not working in here, but studio, being studio, I guess. Now it's working? Okay. Is it just particle? Is that all it is? No, it's particle in there. I had that right. Oh, I put particle effect over here. So weird. Do these not emit? Oh, I'm not selected on the right one. Interesting. One of these have to work, right? Where's this at? Oh, I know what's going on. It's because it's copy this into the workspace. Why is that not working? Ooh, this one's interesting. Is this also not? Oh, it's all the way down here. Fascinating. Okay. Why is this not emitting? That's strange. See if I can find something that should have... I don't know that I've looked at any of these in a while. Like, death effect should definitely be a thing. What did I do wrong? Game selection, get index 1, which is the thing I'm selecting. Getting descendants. All these. Fine, I guess we'll just do this. Crazy. What's up, Hazu? That I probably just butchered your name. Interesting. It's something with my if check. Okay. Well, in that case, let's just do... Let's try a type of... I just ruined the, oh yeah, I did, okay. We're currently not doing those, so let's see. Yeah, it's still that if effect, or the, conditional there. I've done this before. I don't have, like, another thing. Anyways. This is Project 100. This is a game that, I'm, the principal lead scripter on, programmer. Anyways, emit. That is for particle effects. That's where I was trying to go with this, but failing, for the most part. What's this flash? Oh, I know what that is. But yeah, so... Do we need VFX? Yeah, I think we could use more reach out to what is it? You know what? I have him in here, so oh, did I not spell it right? Yeah, it never would be a particle emitter, would it? Alright, so this should be an is a, though. It's gonna be a lot better. What the hell? It's getting later, and my brain is continuing to have more and more of a disconnect with my fingers, so that helps. Or doesn't help, I should say. Okay, so now I should be able to do the index and get descendants. Okay, sure. No, for effect part of the game, get descendants. Do blah blah blah. Expected do when parsing for loop get descendants. That helps. Also, it's descendants, apparently, so... There we go. Now I can do it. By the way, the command bar... Yeah, this is SEO. By the way, the command bar is highly underrated. And, like, if builders knew that they could use the command bar to, like, you know, just grab a selection of, like, a bunch of stuff and set colors, transparency, or, you know, and collide all at once, like all that kind of stuff. Like it's dumb that you could just write a little bit of code. Of course, there's plugins that you can get to do the same exact thing, but you know, or you can just do, what's the old one? Grab both of these real quick. Let's see the old one. Whoops. I see. So you see the old one there. Let me do that. It like censored your message. Don't know how. I didn't know about return. Was it selection? Is that what it was? And then this one is here. Yeah. So that's our new one there. Yeah. Yeah, game.selection, and then you use get, and you know, if you are selecting multiple things, or like I have multiple things selected here, you wouldn't use the index. This is going to return a table, so this obviously wouldn't work anyways, but well, I can just do this just to show, and then let me expand all these, and like I can grab all of the actual stuff, and then I can use this to fire them all off. And it should also be doing these ones too, right? Yeah. So, anyways. It's me just playing around at this point. And not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Why would I get the particle emitter plugin? I hardly ever use it, and I know how to do this, and this is typically just as easy for me. You know, once it's written, like I just scroll up and it's useful for me. Like I can just do it. I don't have to look for it. It's done. But you can see how simple that plugin actually is too, right? Command bar is not being used enough now. Yeah, I use it for a number of things, because it's you want to do something while in like studio mode, not while the game is running or while the game is being played, but in studio itself, right? Then do it, right? So like I can come in here and I can just do what am I doing? I equals 1. Let's do I'm not gonna anchor them or anything, so I think that's fine, right? Boom, there's 100 parts that I just made. I don't know where they are, but there they are. Right? 100 parts made just like that. Now obviously I could then go through and like have, you know, set it up so that it does something a little special with them. Like for example, let's do part dot position is vector3 dot new, and let's do let's do like 50, 10, and then I plus, or we'll do I times 4. We'll do times 8, why not? And now you can see all the parts lined up for me exactly how I would want them, right? Boom. Yeah, so it's vector is setting the three-dimensional location in the game, right? This is an X. You know, if I am looking at it straight on, this is an X and Y position. Well, technically that's Z. This is an X and this is a Y position. So like you're looking at a graph, but then you have 3 dimensions. So you also have a depth, a Z value that goes back, right? So in the case that I have here, I'm putting them all at 50 on the X value. So they're all lined up exactly in the same 50 studs from center of the workspace of the Explorer of the game. They are 10 studs above the origin point of 0, and then I'm setting them, so this is looping starting at 1 all the way to 100, so it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc., right? And I'm just multiplying that by 8, so that is placing them all exactly 8 studs away from each other up to 100 of them, so they are all 100% equally spaced like that. Alright, can be useful. I mean, you can start to imagine the usefulness of this sort of stuff, right? I can also go in and say, let's do it this way instead then. Let's do C-frame. I'll do that. C-frame dot angles. Math.random. Let's actually do math.rad, and then we can do from 0 to 180, right? Now I'm just playing around because I like playing around with things. This is how you learn, by the way. Try to break things. Try to see what you can do with it. Also, I need to delete all these, so get rid of those. And now, what did I do wrong? Invalid argument number 1, C-frame inspector, yeah, vector. Oh, yeah, I didn't change that one, did I? Nope. Alright. And a C-frame is a coordinate frame, and is just essentially a combination of a vector 3 for space and then rotation, your orientation as well. So boom, and now you can see that we have this really cool like sculpture style, right, where they are all in a randomized orientation. Boom, just like that. Why that's useful, I don't know. What time is it for me? It is about to be 1 a.m. actually. This is not... I say this is not my normal streaming time. I don't want this to be my normal streaming time, but... having a baby, it's kind of hard to find time, and typically, like, if I don't have to... My wife and I have schedules that we swap back and forth mornings and evenings, who has, like, main priority over the baby. And when I don't have the baby in the morning, I can typically hop online at night and stay up for a little while, so so ideally I don't know that I have a normal streaming time. It could be in the middle of the afternoon, and sometimes just depends on how busy I am, what I got going on. But anyways, alive data, right? Back to the script that I'm supposed to be looking at to fix. So yeah, this is another thing that he's doing. So he's emitting particle emitters from the server, because remember this is a server script, right? A regular script. That is also not good. That is not performant. The server is not really designed to handle that. I have an idea of what's going on here. Give me 2 seconds to... Because my... Like, my Twitch chat is fading over time. My YouTube chat is not. Just in settings here, it is. Alright, so messages fade after... I don't know, how long is the Twitch chat one? A few minutes. I can set it to 120 seconds. That's probably fine. This is going to clear it for now, but should be good. You can see why I'm called Distracted Games. All my distractions. Alright, so I've got to move particle emitters out as well. Let me hop into my issues. Just to show you what I'm doing here. In my GitHub, I've created issues for different tasks and bugs that you can see a lot of stuff too. And this is the main one that we're working on here, so... I was like, what particle emitter is that? For each of them in dash VFX. Okay, so that's gonna go in the dodge component then. Whatever this is me coming up with an estimate to get paid to fix it, essentially. Yeah, here's handling all the... This is actually handling dodging. We have a dodge component to do this. And he's got this create function too, which takes a name, a time, and a parent. It's probably the only kind of clever thing he did, except it's not like, it's not named very well. Should call it create instance, except it's not creating instances, it's creating folders. Because again, he's just adding folder instances, temporary folder instances for temporary state tracking on a character, and it's insane. Like, the poor garbage collector has to deal with all that. But otherwise, and then he's just firing events all over the place. For the various things. So he also has a died function for the death effect. Okay. By the way, the original script here, 712 lines long. I mean, granted, a lot, and we've commented out a lot of stuff because again, we've pulled some stuff out. In fact, I think it was originally over 800 lines long before we started working on it, but not me personally, but we as an organization. So yeah, pretty gross. All right. I am am probably gonna... What is this, like horror music? Alright, I am gonna go ahead and get off here pretty soon. Because I have only had a few hours of sleep, like 3 hours. In about an hour and 15 minutes, it will have been 24 hours since I fell asleep last night and slept for roughly 2 hours, and then I had an hour-long nap earlier this afternoon. Lots of coffee has helped. Otherwise, he's doing the highlight here. So yeah, like 90% of this I feel like could be handled on the client. And most of it really is just like we have places for all of this to exist already, and he just wasn't using it. Very annoying. Alright, so there's that, and then the input, right? Input client. Here's the original. I already went through and started cleaning up some stuff. But here's the child script that he had. This is a local script that he made a child of the character handler script that we were just looking at. What? What is this? Who does this? He's caching task.spawn. He's essentially creating an alias of it, which is an interesting way to go. I don't know why you would do that. Like, I mean, he's literally only saving a period by doing that, and he had to type out, probably, if you include all of this, probably more characters than all the places he uses this math plant. He uses it in 2 places. Here and one other place. Task spawn's not even used. What about math.clamp? That's it, it's the only place. What about task.spawn? It's the only place. Yeah. Yeah. Alright, let's go to the one that I semi-cleaned up at least. Jump up to the top here. Again, services are at least in the right place. Turn on strict mode as well. Ooh, look at that. There are no errors or warnings on the side there. Did I already go through this one? No, that would make sense because most of this already has a place as well. I have a player character, or player controller? Yeah, I have a player controller that would handle inputs from the client. So, let's see. So I'm not using my character loaded wrapper. That I took inspiration from Roblox themselves on, by the way. Don't sleep on those guys. They write good stuff over at Roblox. Sprint Anim, not using a camel case. Okay, so here is another thing, and he was doing this from the server script as well. I didn't point out, but he's calling animations, right? And here's a good place to call an animation, sure, from the client. But he's loading the animation on the humanoid, which is an old way of doing things. You want to do an animator. The animator is actually going to handle replication for you automatically, so that you can call an animation from the server on a character as long as you're calling it on their animator, and it will replicate. You can call it from a client script and it will replicate. Calling this here, I don't think this actually replicates. Don't know what load animation is. I mean, it's a deprecated way of doing it, so. And he wrote this again at the beginning of this year, so it's not like, you know, this was deprecated recently. It's been a while. Let's see. And again, this is the cleaned up version. I had already gone through this and ran through some stuff. We have an initiate function that we're returning. Right, I had converted this to a, I did go through and redo a number of this actually. Because I had converted this into a module to try to make it part of the modular framework. But you can see that even then, like, that's a massive function full of a bunch of other stuff just because of the way that he did it. There was another place I know that he was using certain things. I mean, look at how he's handling input. Such an amateur way to do things. It really is. It's not including like how he did things, right? You can see all these things that he's not even using. You know, there's no spaces between certain things. Just typed weird. We have things that like carry so far off the page. By the way, you might notice I have these two ruler lines. I also have them over here. So like if I pull up another script and zoom out, you can see I have them here too. These are at, might be kind of hard to see on there. These are at 80 and 100 columns. A column is basically just a character, right? For each of these characters. So this is 80 characters and 100 characters. And this is something that's part of the official Roblox Luau or Roblox Lua style guide. Because if you keep your comments under 80 characters and you keep your code under 100 characters, it's a lot easier to read on different screen sizes. So that's why you typically want to do that. But yeah, you can see like there's, I mean, double empty white space there. I don't know how that's supposed to make this more readable. It's already poorly written code, so it's already not going to be read very well. Let's take a look at this one. Key code F. Let's see if we can find that one. Key dode. Oh yeah, well, that'll do it. Alright, so here you can see this else if to then, right? This is the way that I set it up. This is the way that he set it up. Kind of gross. Let's go ahead and look at the if statement that he's got here. This is my if to then, my repeat until not, right? This is his. Which one's easier to read? And here's the worst part. If he were doing things the way that I'm doing them, and using like Stylua, I'm gonna hold Control and I'm gonna press S, as in save, and Stylua is going to automatically format this code in a much more readable code. Removes a lot of the empty white space for no reason, lines things up a lot easier so you can see a lot easier what things are doing. Yeah, clears a whole bunch of other stuff. Obviously it doesn't clean up like unused variables and stuff like that, but yeah. Compared to this. Right. Gross. Not so gross. Alright. So this just needs to be moved pretty much into, I mean, a lot of this stuff already exists, so it's really going to be just a comparison, but that means I have to go through each and every action and figure out like what he's doing, and then he's also tying in with the skills here. And then also live data bullshit, so... What even is this one doing? Sprint anim is plain, then stop running, and then if the weapon type is a one-handed sword, one-handed rapier, and I guess the weapon is readied, then the sprint anim is that. Let's see. And his weapon type. Where is this at? It's getting us all the way up here. Just a blank type. Or a blank variable. If it's a string value and the name is item type. Okay, and he's pulling that from our replicated storage, our item tool here that is used for all the different items, weapons. If you're going to use like a healing crystal or a teleport crystal or a potion or anything like that, it's going to be an item, it's going to be a tool. Then you have the item type string value here, so he's just checking from that, which is fine. Except that, I'm pretty sure that got reworked, not the item type stuff itself, but the, doing like the full one-handed sword, one-handed rapier sort of thing. In fact, I can check that. Wasn't that character and items? Yeah. What local changes did I make? And a tag. Also shrink down here. Okay. Yeah, I don't care. I can't write to master anyways. I put rules in place for myself to not be able to do that, so that is what it is. Yeah, what branches do I have on here? Character and items. So I can get switch, feature, no, refactor. Of course to refactor. You see how much refactoring I've been having to do. Character and I can't type anymore. Yeah, it's definitely close to bedtime here. And the cool thing is I'm still connected to here, so like all the changes that I've made to this branch over the master branch automatically are applied. So now I'm technically, if I were to play the game, I'm in this branch. I think this is the branch that I actually had started in last time, so it's gonna hang up on the network module stuff. Yeah, because I'm getting errors. Yeah, I should say waiting for network and just hang up there. And there's even a custom error message here. Did the client network initialize before the server? Possibly. There's a bunch of other stuff that failed before then, right? Character data manager, attempt to index nil with player. Yeah. Anyways, so in the weapons deal here, you can see this has changed. Also not, I noticed that I'm not using strict mode or type checking on these, which is interesting. That's an interesting way to comment that out. Oh, I get it. So you're, I don't know why it's commented out anyways, but sure. And what is because, oh, it's because I changed the weapon type, I think is what it was. Weapon class. This is not even set up correctly. Why would you do that? Why do you even have that on there? This is what I had set up differently. So we have a base config, and then we have our actual setup here. What's wrong with this? Let's see. Type save code. Yeah. We also have an error down here in one of our methods. Self-type durability. Do I not have... Oh yeah, because again I hadn't finished like going through and saying what these are, so changing this to be more correct. And this is a class type. So just go ahead and copy that and do that to these as well. Whoops. Don't need to do that, just that. And then this. Okay, so there, that's fixed with that at least. Alright, so now what's wrong here? Self.max durability. Does not have key max durability. So I'm using capital letters. Interesting. Why am I using Pascal case here? Well, that's what we're using, so that's what we're going to use. Also here, we'll go ahead and put those, and then durability I assume is also, there's one down here too. No, and what's up with this? Number cannot be converted into a number. I don't know if we need to set it to 0 there, or just 100, like what's, durability appears to not be in... Not add property durability to table. Right, it's current durability. That's why. Alright, so that's type safe now as well. So we're taking the minimum value of any of these. So I guess we don't want that. We want the current durability to be either the minimum of max durability, self current durability, or a plus amount for the repair. Why is my brain so... Oh, right. Sleep deprivation. It's like, why can my brain not wrap my head around this? Let's see. Also here. Alright, this is not even part of what I was supposed to be doing, but I get in here and I start looking at things and I'm like, oh, I can fix that real quick. So when we're repairing the item by the specified amount, or fully repair it if no amount is provided. Okay. So this does need to be... Well, hold on, because I can also just do... Oops. I can also just do amount. Because amount is either the amount or if no amount is given, it's the max durability. Oh no, I see what's going on. Because either we are over repairing it or we're setting it to its max durability. So we can say if amount and health dot max durability. There. That's better. Alright, what do we got going on up here? Alright, a function to assign a UUID that we're not currently using, but we will. Also the network module that we're not using, but we will. In fact, we're not using, we should be using it here. Find the remote event. That's an interesting way to do that. So this function is literally just calling a remote event. Yeah, I guess that's fine, but it's a little strange. All right, let's go ahead and grab. That's fine. All right, so let's see. What is this called? This is called update durability. Let's go to remote event name. Let's see if we have that in here. We don't. Go ahead and add that. And then add it in here somewhere. All those item events or remotes. Again, stick to our naming conventions. This is this or this. Or cast to that, not or that. And then so now in here, I'm just going to do network. We are going to our client. The event name is network.remoteevents. What is it? Update durability, right? And we are firing to the player. What else are we doing here? Self.name and self.current durability. Done. Much cleaner. So that's the network module in a nutshell as well. Anywhere else we are using an event? I doubt it. Also not using our logger, which we definitely use. That is what it is. Alright, and then I'll come back and think about that another time, because that is a bit of an effort there. So now this... What is this? Who... Okay, I'll have to go through these for sure. We just changed the remote event name and that. Yeah. Let's commit these individually. Oh, actually, they are related to the same thing. Oh, they're not. I mean, they are partially, but really this is doing something much more because, yeah. Refactor, update methods for consistency and clarity, as well as type safety. With that, since we can right there. Alright folks, that is going to be it for me. I've got to get to bed. Or at least start to wind down to get to bed. Because I've been staring at a screen and bright lights. So I'm not going to be able to just fall asleep right away, but I appreciate anybody who watched. Appreciate all the new followers. Excuse me. I'm already losing my voice too, so it's kind of good timing, right? Kind of good timing, I'd say. But yeah, thanks for watching. Thanks for joining in. Thanks for chatting. I will try to see if I can figure out a actual schedule for streaming. Gonna be really hard with a baby in the house, but I will do what I can and try to post that in places. If you are not already, join the Discord. I believe I have the Discord server on my Twitch channel, and yeah, I'm ending here. I gotta get to bed, man. I'm tired. I'm also starting to lose my voice apparently, which is interesting because I can talk for days, I feel like. So yeah, it's about 1:30 for me, so not too far off. Last night I didn't get to bed till about 2:15. Woke up very early, so as a matter of fact, let me go here and get this. If you are not already a member, come join the Discord. We have a few members working on growing it. I obviously post, it automatically posts when I go live, so if you happen to miss anything from subscribing or following on here, you can definitely still get there. Anytime I upload a new video to YouTube, which I hope to get back to doing here soon as well, that'll be on there. And then also, I do like blog posts and stuff. Like, I'm pretty active on there. We have memes, typically programming memes. Although I think I'm starting to run out of programming memes. But we do have a couple interesting channels on there as well, as far as asking for help for code, submitting your code. You can submit your code for review for me to do a code review on YouTube, so I can make a video of that. So if you want to have your code either a script or a whole place, or you know, a number of scripts, whatever, you can submit that there, so you can check that out. Also, there's a place there to post, like, if you are looking for work, want to hire somebody, or if you want to be hired, there's a section on there for that, although nobody's used that so far. Again, it's still a growing community, so that is what it is. I'm trying to be more active elsewhere as well. Like, now I'm multi-streaming, right? So I'm capturing both, Twitch and YouTube, so hopefully that helps. Otherwise, again, thanks for watching, thanks for tuning in. Until next time, bye. Yeah, this is leftover from Halloween, by the way, in case you were wondering.